I still have hope in the independent world, like for us right now. Like that's where I definitely see our salvation. One big success does not mean you're now like in for life. It's like you have to keep doing it.
But I didn't go to undergrad for film because I thought I was being practical by getting a degree in English.
That's what I thought. Okay, writer-director Jennifer Harrington's most recent scripts, Hell's Bells and The End of Liz as We Know It, were sold to Amazon Studios and Sony Pictures respectively, with Jake Kasdan and Melvin Marr attached to produce. Previously, she wrote and directed the horror feature Shook, acquired by the streamer Shudder, and reviewed by the Wall Street Journal as a guilty pleasure. Her first feature, Housekeeping, was released by Lionsgate and After Dark Films. In the documentary world, she was co-executive producer and a director on the docuseries Dear for Apple Plus and RJ Cutler. As an editor, she has edited several award-winning documentary features and countless television shows. Gaga 5'2" for Netflix, which premiered at TIFF. The Emmy-nominated feature documentary Banksy Does New York for HBO, The Source Family, premiering at South by Southwest, and Bogalusa Charm, premiering at Slamdance, on which she was credited as a writer for as well. She has 2 film degrees, a BFA from UCLA and an MFA from USC. Tara Anaïse is an Indian-American writer-director, a Sundance Feature Film Program Fellow, and an Emmy nominee. Her most recent work includes writing and directing on the season finale of Shudder's Queer for Fear from EP Bryan Fuller, a docuseries about the history of horror told through a queer lens, and producing all 4 episodes of the series. Queer for Fear was nominated for a 2023 Emmy for Outstanding Arts and Culture Documentary, a 2023 GLAAD Award for Outstanding Documentary, and the winner of 2 2023 Dorian Awards for Best TV Documentary and Best LGBTQ Documentary. Anaise's debut feature, Dark Mountain, was released by Gravitas Pictures and peaked at number 8 on iTunes Top Horror. She also wrote and story produced on Dear for Apple TV Plus, nominated for a 2022 IDA Doc Award, and ran the story department on Seduced inside the NXIVM Cult for STARZ. Her upcoming projects include the features Bombay Blood, which she workshopped at the Sundance Screenwriters Intensive in Los Angeles, and Wildcats, a dark coming-of-age crime drama set in the California desert. She holds an MFA in film production from USC's School of Cinematic Arts and a BA in English from the University of Pennsylvania. She lives and works in Los Angeles. Thank you both for coming on the Hollywood Hang.
Welcome to the Hollywood Hang.
Hi.
Hi.
Wait,
Thank you for having us.
Those are really cool to hear. I know it's long, but like it's so fun to hear.
I'm like, is it over already? Does that take the whole
very,
podcast?
very long. It's too long for a podcast intro, I think. But thank you. I appreciate reading the whole thing.
Tara, I feel like Nick is the horror guy, or the horror person out of us too. So I feel like this is very exciting.
Well, not just that, but we also have a lot of USC energy here and UCLA as well, which is the rare rivalry degrees.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Who's bringing the USC energy? Who's bringing the UCLA energy?
So I also did UCLA undergrad, USC MFA.
Oh, seriously? Oh my God, I've never met another one. This is so exciting.
Yeah, my mom was a USC alumni, and she had like a house divided flag that had the half and half that she hung at our house.
Oh my God, so did my mom.
I
mean, we didn't have the flag, but my mom was a USC alumni, and she was so mad when I went to UCLA. And
that
it was like
exactly
a whole
me.
thing. Whoa, that's weird.
So
we
funny.
need to talk about that.
Yeah. That's amazing. No, guys, I was in Missouri. Just like drinking 75-cent triple wells, having the time of my life, though, I will say.
Yeah, that sounds way more fun, actually, to be honest.
And so we always start with lore, and lore is just kind of like, how did you guys get into writing? Also, how did you meet? Was it a Sundance?
It was at USC.
USC.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
this
how did you?
episode is brought to you by USC School of Cinematic Arts.
Exactly.
Don't forget UCLA.
Yes.
They get a point too.
I know. I actually prefer them.
Oh,
Whoa, shots fired.
It's about to get
spicy. They're definitely not as expensive, I'll tell you.
So for each of you, I guess, how did you always know you wanted to work in film and TV, or did this kind of come to you through happenstance? I feel like if you go to school for something like this, you kind of knew when you were very young.
I mean, I can go. I always did. Yeah, since I was little, this is like all I wanted to do. I used to like make, stupid movies with my parents' video camera when I was a kid. And like, I also have, my dad was a big cinephile, so he would show me like Fellini movies and Godard movies when I was like in, junior high or something. And then I have family in India who works in Bollywood. So like, they're like producers and distributors in Bollywood. So I don't know. It's just, I never really thought of that there was anything else I wanted to do. But I didn't go to undergrad for film because I thought I was being practical by getting a degree in English.
That's what I thought.
You were so practical.
Yeah. So practical. Yes.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. I actually didn't always know. I'm not as cool as Tora, but I definitely didn't see Fellini movies, Godard movies in junior high. I was like a big fan of Back to the Future and Die Hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, I loved movies. My family is very movie centric. We went to the movies all the time. But really, actually, when I went to UCLA, I went in as undeclared. And actually, I applied for the art school, and I got into the art school, and I was an art major for a hot minute before I got into the film school. And like, while I was an art major, I was like, oh, you know what? I think I'd rather do film. And so I applied. But I worked at a video store in high school, and I would like take home stacks of VHS every night because I am old and it was VHS. And, it was amazing film education. I feel like most of the time where I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that. It's like from when I was 16. I was like, yeah, I took that home from the video store. So yeah. And then I was, all in after that.
What are both of your takes on film school looking back? Because I always get people asking me like, should I go to film school? Is it worth it? And it's like, it depends. But what is, when people ask you that, what do you say?
I say no, I don't think it's worth it. Even though I went twice, it took me a while to learn my lesson. But, I think that especially today, things are different now than when I went. Like, we didn't have phones with 4K cameras, you can do so much on your own now. Like, the only reason why I would go to a school is for the community, the people that you meet. And so if you're bad at networking, that will be a nice help because you were forced to meet people and make connections at school. But outside of that, like what you learn, there's nothing I learned in either of those schools that isn't readily available to learn elsewhere. And to be honest, it's like they offer very limited perspectives, and like there's a lot more to learn, frankly, than what they teach, in my opinion. So,
what does that mean? I did not go to film school. What do you mean, like they're limited perspectives?
I think like one of the reasons why I said I liked UCLA more than USC was just because like it all depends kind of on who's teaching, right? And the professors at USC are pulled from a specific kind of world and point of view for the most part. Than when I was at UCLA, they were like there were a lot of more varied backgrounds. So it's like I felt kind of like a weirdo at USC because, the stuff that I liked and the stuff I wanted to do wasn't really what everybody else was focused on. And it wasn't really like the focus of like there was the occasional professor that would be into it. But I had, my mentor professor for my thesis film, like when he saw it cut, he was like, this is like the worst thing I've ever seen. Like he was like, this is horrible. I can't believe you did this. And then I went and showed like the one professor who was Bob Jones, who's like an Oscar-winning editor there. And he was like, oh, no, this is amazing. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I think that's that's kind of what I mean, is that when you go to a school, you're only exposed to the people they have there, and they're going to have their very specific own ideas of what works and what doesn't. So
I have a bit of a different take. I think that film school can be very good in the sense that like you have this specific amount of time that all you're doing is working on is focusing on your work, and there really is no other time in my life anyway that I was able to like just only focus on making movies, writing scripts, and putting that all and doing all of that. So in that sense, and the community, and I didn't find that I liked my thesis advice. Well, actually, okay, when we were going through it, I didn't quite like him, but then after looking back after finishing the film, I realized like, oh, you know what? He was kind of right about this. But he was also like this outlier who I think might still be there. Pablo Frasconi.
Oh, yeah.
He was kind of an experimental
He was an
film
outlier.
guy.
He was.
Yeah. And then like my taste sort of like runs that way. Like my thesis film feels like a foreign film in a way.
It does.
So that was a very good pairing, I think, for me to have him.
Pablo.
Yeah, he's lovely. I wonder if he's still there.
I think
how did you guys meet? How did you guys meet in school? Like from a class?
I think through mutual friends. I think it was through like Jenny and Gabe, right?
Yeah,
is that how
Jenny
it was?
and Gabe. I think
so.
It's like because Tara was a semester above me, and I was. The way that it works at USC is they kind of have these thesis. Everybody works on like 4 projects get picked for like a thesis that the school pays for, and everybody works on them. It's like. So people pitch and 4 writers and directors get picked, and their theses are funded by USC. And then there's a class that supports it, and everybody like applies for positions. And like I was an editor on a thesis that with people who were already friends with Tara because they were from that semester. So, and I'm like really poking.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you worked. It was like Gabe's.
It was Jenny's, actually.
Jenny's. Okay.
Yeah. Name dropping.
I think I have like pretty much, I would say like a combination answer of the both of you. Like when I was talking to my friends, NYU, they have like a satellite LA campus class recently. And before we got coffee and I had said something like, oh yeah, I tell people nowadays, I don't think you have to go to film school. And he was like, don't tell that to my students because they are in film school. But it's like when people ask on TikTok or whatever, like I think you can absolutely create success without it. Like it's not necessary. But yeah, like if you do end up going, it just depends on like who are your collaborators, who are your teachers, what kind of like viewpoint do you have going in? Like, because I feel like I went to film school with so many people that just they didn't really want feedback, and they were just like not super thrilled to be there, and they were just kind of like, oh, maybe I'll go to film school. So yeah, I think it's all what you make of it, you know.
I mean, I really love like that. It was like Rachel Sennett, Io, Adib, like they had a crew at NYU grinding it out, like kind of putting stuff on the internet super early. They have a really funny like Rachel and someone go on dates like kind of series, and so I feel like it's really dependent on like, you know, find your right people, and that's like the perfect place to do that.
I think that's the number one thing, because to be honest, like now that I am older, and I know a lot of people who are teaching film at various programs, myself included on some things, and I can see how some programs are very outdated and aren't taking into consideration like how different things are now and what kids already know coming into it. And that's the other reason why it's like, I think it's like, if you are going to go to film school, I would like really research the program as far as like, have they kept up, or are they still teaching you stuff like from, 15 years ago? Because the stuff that I learned, like a lot of it isn't relevant anymore, or just it's stuff like most kids already know. Like they need to know the next level. It's like they grew up with the phone in their hands, like they already know a lot of stuff. And I think that a lot of film schools aren't catching up to that.
I wanted to ask you about editing, because that is actually a skill. I mean, I'm not great at it, but it was like a skill I just had to learn when I wanted to make my iMovie videos. Like, I don't know, you just play around on a computer and you have those tools at your disposal. Like, how did you end up getting into the editing world? Because I feel like that wasn't
that's the thing. That's the difference between you and me, because I am a little older than you. I didn't grow up with those tools. And that's why I'm saying like film school needs to take into account that people have already edited things on iMovie and stuff. They already know some basics. But yeah, no, I just like when I was actually even as an undergrad, I was just really interested in editing, and I found it something that I was good at. And so then when I got out of grad school and I needed to start making my student loan payments, I reached out to just about every post house in LA and got hired as a dubber, which doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, and then I just worked my way up because I could prove that I could do it. So it's like whenever I had an opportunity to show like, oh no, I can like, let me try. Like then I moved up and I was an editor. But
that's like I feel like the cold email is like one of the most common themes of our podcast. Everyone's like, I just cold emailed and hoped that someone would answer. But I do think editing is one of those like hard skills that like in rough times you can find a job. It might not be right in the film industry, but you could find it elsewhere. Like I have friends who do a lot more like industrial editing and they do like the creative film.
I think AI might be taking over those jobs actually, because I think so.
Editing is going to be one of the ones to get really hit.
To go, right,
because
it's different if it's like a feature and it's like real storytelling, you know what I mean? But something that's like industrial or like just like some kind of formulaic like reality show or something, you know, like a competition show. I feel like AI could easily do that.
I haven't heard a lot about AI in editing. Nick, wait, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, I feel like it's the same as like when people talk about AI and writing. It's like, I think that there are certain things that are kind of, as you described, like industrial that AI could technically do. But yeah, when you get into a feature film or where you're writing a feature film, editing a feature film, anything that's like the only choices that you make are the things that make it unique. There's not like a formula behind it. It's literally just your human taste. Then it becomes more,
I'm just thinking of like all the AI slop, you know, is what they call it now. And it's like there will be a lot of just AI slop movies and TV shows. And you know what? People will watch them. And so I think that's the thing is that like, yeah, we like to think that like, well, humans really need to do that last step. And it's like, yeah, but if it's good enough, they're going to still put it out. And you know what? People are going to watch it.
I mean, I think there's just going to be that we'll have like AI channels, AI streamers that all it does is exclusively, you know, show people AI content that they can have on in the background and like not really watch it, scroll on their phone while it's just like playing or whatever. And then if you'll have to seek out, you know, like art, cinema, or something that you actually want that was made by a human that actually has like emotion and feeling behind it that you want to sit down and pay attention to and watch.
So do you guys feel like it's kind of like a category of we have video games and then we'll have AI movies and then you'll have, you know, real human?
I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
And so I think it's not going to go away, but the amount of jobs is going to get a lot smaller.
And to that, how did you guys both get how did you guys end up finding managers or agents, or did you get your first writing gig first? Like what came about for y'all's career trajectories from that?
My first manager so the first film I did was after like years of working as an editor and like making short films and not getting anywhere with, what I really wanted to do, which was make movies. So I just made my own movie on a Canon 60D for like $500. And that's the one I sold to Lionsgate. And through that is how I got my first manager. And I was with him for a long time, but got absolutely nothing from it. And that's something also is just, you know, I think that I think a lot of people think that like you have to have a rep to like get somewhere and do things. And it's obviously very helpful, but it's not, if it's not the right fit or if it's not the right person, it's like, I almost think it makes you less likely to pursue opportunities, less like, you know, it can really hurt you because that person isn't necessarily going to help you. And now you're kind of leaving it to them instead of taking the initiative. So I don't know. I mean, that's how I got my first rep. But it's like, when I look back, I wonder if I hadn't, if I would have been more proactive in the following years.
I think when you get your rep, you kind of can feel a little complacent. You're like, I got the thing that everyone tells me to get.
They're going to take care of it now. Like, they're going to just do it now, you know? Like, and the thing is a lot of them don't. And I don't mean they're bad. It's just like they might not be the right fit or like, you know, like they might do a ton of work for you, but it just might not be with the right kind of crowd. Like, you might need somebody who has connections in a different area. Like, the idea that like any rep is good is, I think, you know, it's a false idea.
Yeah. And I mean, I actually don't have a rep right now. And I consider myself more of a director than a writer. Like, I'm not the kind of person, I'm not writing like, you know, big budget studio scripts that I'm trying to sell. I'm like an independent filmmaker. And to find a rep as a director is very, 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 very difficult. And so like I made a feature as well, like out of grad school. It was like micro budget. Jen produced it. I mean, it was like I think a 9-day shoot or something or less even. It was crazy. But it premiered at Austin Film Festival. It was distributed by Gravitas. And I was kind of like, okay, cool. Like, now I'm going to get like a rep and then I can make my second movie. And then like, that didn't happen, you know? And so I'm still over here like trying to get my another film made. And it's tough.
I think that's what people don't always realize, that like, no one is coming to save you. Like, you just, every single thing that you do, it's a move to save yourself, technically.
Yeah. Seriously.
100%.
Yeah, and you just have to kind of keep going. I mean, and it's really difficult when you're not independently wealthy. So then you also have to think about, like, how am I going to pay my rent? So, yeah, I mean, that can be a real drain on your creativity when you're working, you know, a day job that is also creative. Like, I've done a bunch of documentary work, and that to me, I find it interesting, but it's not really where my passion is. But it is creatively draining, you know. So if you're working on a documentary series for, you know, months and months and months, it's really hard to then find the time to focus on your own work, the project that you want to make next. So
I think the other thing about reps too is like, I feel like I know so many writers who are just stuck. It's kind of like being in a relationship with someone that you know it's not right, but you don't really want to like leave the relationship.
Yeah, you're too afraid.
You're afraid to like be on your own and not to come off as like the anti-matchmaker, but I've like convinced so many writers to dump their managers, because oftentimes I get coffee with writers and then it just ends up them telling me like, is it normal for your manager to like ignore you for 6 months and like they won't answer my emails? And I'm like, just dump it. Like it's not better to have like both of you are just wasting your time, you know? So it's
exactly.
I think it just comes from that place. Yeah,
for sure. I think that it took me a really long time to feel like, because it's scary because it's so drilled into you, like, to be successful, you have to have a rep. And so it's like, well, I haven't made it and I have a rep. So why, like, what am I self-sabotaging by leaving? But that was actually when my whole career changed, is when I switched and got a new rep. It like totally changed everything. And so if I had never like gotten the courage to be like, well, if I don't have one, I don't have one, then I would have never gotten the rep that is a much better fit, you know?
I also feel like this is a theme that I think people are more and more interested, especially with the rise of the internet and how everyone kind of is like, Hollywood's an old dinosaur and it's dying. Everyone seems interested in trying to find the way to work around the machine that is Hollywood. So it is this independent obsession, but it's still, I know so many indie producers that are like, I don't know where to get money. Like, money has run out. So it's at every level. there is no one having a great time.
Yeah, I still have hope in the independent world, like for us right now. Like that's where I definitely see our salvation with what's going on in the industry, is like that indie film and TV really makes a big comeback. And that's my hope.
Yeah, it's my hope too. And also maybe look to overseas to like, I mean, we live in like a global society now. So not just looking for financing abroad or looking for, producing partners abroad. That's something that's interesting to me, especially with like some of the stories that I want to tell.
The independent TV is so interesting to me because it is relatively more new, and I feel like more and more festivals I know it's been a thing at festivals for a while, but I have been seeing, like I was at South by, they had a ton of TV shows everybody was talking about, indie pilots and stuff, and it feels like it would be something that is a good idea, right? Since like the studio TV budgets like got so out of control that making good TV for cheap seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would hope so. So like, what does the current state of the industry, and like you guys both kind of like leaning into the independent sphere, what does it look like for you right now?
It's it's challenging. It's like I have a feature that I'm working on a rewrite on. I know Jen's writing something too. We actually did our little writing retreat this past week together. But yeah, I mean, it's like all I think we can do right now is to focus on something that you're passionate about, and then sort of once you have the script, you have the thing, that's all you can do now, and then just think about the rest of it later. Otherwise, if you start thinking about how you're going to make it, how it's going to get financed, then you start spinning out, and like you'll never actually finish anything, in my opinion.
That's very good advice.
And I think that stuff shows up in the writing too, to be honest, like that anxiety,
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, I sold those two scripts, and like they're both like, the one at Sony is sort of like dormant. It almost shot. It was, had a director and a cast, and then it just fell apart at the last second. So I don't know if that's going to come back or not, but maybe. And then the script with Amazon has been kind of sleeping for like the last year. But then just yesterday, I got news that like they just attached a director. So I don't know where that's going to go, because that doesn't, you learn very quickly. I was like, well, I had a director attached to the other movie, and like it was all green light go, so it doesn't really, you can't count on anything until it's already done, really.
It's still exciting though. And I think that's also like, you also have to remember to like take the little wins, right? And to not get so down and sort of, I mean, not in a delusional way, but like, I think it's just like, being able to like celebrate a little bit, celebrate yourself.
It's about figuring out what's delusional and what's realistic has changed so much. And it's like, I had two big sales, like with big, articles in the trades and stuff. And I've never really even been put up for an open writing assignment, which is, to me, was like, well, after I sold that first script, it was like, I'm going to get jobs like crazy. I've never even gotten a chance to go out for one, because they've dwindled so much that like, it's just not a thing. And so really, it's like all the pressure is on me to just like sell another script. So it's like, I'm working on the next one, and it's just been taking me a really long time. So in the meantime, I started teaching at Sundance and like doing other things. But I think that's the thing that I think has been the biggest revelation, is that we're all kind of sold this fantasy that maybe did exist and was true at some point, but it's not anymore. And I think it's a very rude awakening, unless you can like start learning it early, that like one big success does not mean you're now like in for life. It's like you have to keep doing it. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's like an endless mountain.
Yeah.
I guess. So you like reach little plateaus and then it's like, oh, wait,
but you go down. It's like that's the thing.
You do. It's like
you go back down.
About Sisyphus. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not your fault. It's just the way it is for almost everyone. Like I know people who have like done way more successful things for way longer than I have, and they're in the same position, you know? So, and it feels like it wasn't that way when like we were younger and like, you know, we grew up on this idea of, I don't know. I think that like really coming to terms with the fact that it's changed and like not perpetuating this fantasy to other people and getting them as like stuck as the rest of us, I think is important.
I think that's ultimately what, myself included, turns a lot of screenwriters into thinking about like what is a project that's lower budget that I can actually direct, because once you write a couple studio movies and as you said, like they get sleepy or they die, it's like there's really nothing you can do as the screenwriter to like help like you want to be a producer and you want to be like, what can I do? What's going on? But it's like usually they're not even updating the screenwriter about what's happening. Like you said, you just hear a year later there's a director on. Same thing's happened to me. It's like I hear from a director friend who's like, hey, I pitched on your thing. And I was like, oh, nobody told me they were meeting with directors. Like I haven't heard from anybody in a year and a half. Like they're not thinking about the screenwriter. Like let's update them on what's going on, even though they're the ones who wrote the script. It's just, you have like no control and no leverage in that way once you turn in the thing, which is frustrating.
But I do
I've had producers on emails be like, I like the director's name in like big bold letters, like I'm obsessed with him. And then they're like, the writer, can someone get me the writer's name? And I'm like, oh my God, this is the career path that I want. Like, oh, this hurts. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like you're really at the bottom of the food chain as the writer. Even if if it's all your idea and it was a spec and you sold it and everything, and it's like, this wouldn't exist without you, you still are the last to know everything. And you're like the first to like, you know, if there's anything to like, oh, maybe we need to bring on another writer, or like, you know, something to like get people interested again or whatever. It's like, even though it's like there's not necessarily anything, like everybody was really stoked on this, but now it's just like to get people excited, you know, stuff like that. It's like you don't have any control. But it's like at the same time, I don't know. I mean, yes, writing something to shoot. I mean, obviously Tara and I both did that. And it definitely is, I think, very helpful to get your first thing going. I think that like I would just caution being careful that like I've seen a lot of people try to do that and what they write is not as good as what they usually do. It's because they're trying so hard to be practical, you know? And I think that like it's a dangerous, you have to be go in like really self-aware, I think, of what you're doing, because I think that like a lot of people be like, well, I'll just do, you know, a haunted house movie and like whatever. And it's like, well, great, you made it, but is that like the best representation of who you are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's like maybe if you can go into the writing process without like the producer hat on yet. And I mean, obviously, you need to be aware of the number of locations and characters and all that stuff. But like, do the first draft, and then you can have like the producer mind.
Yeah, like then you can maybe adapt it to something that's more shootable. But that would be my 2 cents on it.
That's true though, because yeah, there are times when I'm like, how do I write? What is like the popular thing now? We just talked about it on their call. It's the truly the one location. 3 characters max, and I'm just like, I don't know how to write that well, and I'm gonna slam my head into a wall trying to do that instead of just maybe writing what I actually enjoy and like the story that I want to tell.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's almost like a play too. I mean, now maybe like you could, you know, write a 1-act play, put it up somewhere. I mean, I don't know if that's gonna, you never know. If you just want to make something, you could do something like that as well.
Have the two of you always been very into the horror genre?
Yeah, I've always liked horror movies, but I don't consider myself like a strictly genre director. Like I kind of did what we were saying not to do. Because it seemed like basically my film it's like Blair Witch in the desert, right? So it was very easy to shoot. I mean, not easy, but it was like contained. It was 3 characters. It's like found footage. And I was like, okay, well, we can do this. This is like doable. And it's a genre. So, you know, it's more likely that it's going to sell. And yeah, so like, let's just do it. It was actually based on an idea that another grad school friend and I had been working. We had written a version of this script that was like completely different, but we wanted... initially, we were like, this is going to be the spec that we sell that's going to like, you know, put us out there and like make us all of this money. And it didn't happen. And then finally, I just had reached this point where I was like, if I don't make a movie, I'm going to lose my mind. So I had the idea, like, if we adapt this to this other thing, we can make it. And then hopefully this will be the thing that like gets me to the film that I actually want to make. But I don't know that that's the right way to do it, honestly. Because it takes up so much time, so much creative energy, like years of your life, you know?
Yeah, you have to be really, really into whatever it is you decide to try and shoot. It's like, it can't just be something you're like, oh, I'll just, you know, it'll be easy. I'll just like do this. And like, that'll really help me, and think of it in more practical terms. Because if you're not like, I mean, both of the films that I've done aren't really from my heart. Like they're from being practical or whatever. And it is, you spend years toiling over these things. And it's like, I mean, I didn't get, part of me thinks that like, well, nobody's really seen what I can do. You know, it's like, even though I've done this stuff, it's like, and I think I wouldn't change it. I mean, I think there's also something to be said for practice, like getting practice and like getting experience and not being precious. And I think that that's also really important. But when it comes to the projects where you're going to be putting years in, which I think a lot of people underestimate, like really how long this thing is going to live with you, like, I don't know. I wish I had a project that I felt represented me more.
Same.
And do you mean that in what have you ever written that have you written that project yet? And you're just like, I just can't make it yet.
Yeah, those are the ones I sold.
I mean, that's kind of,
yeah, that's kind of like, you know, what I've been trying to teach in this class that I developed, but it was like kind of like, you know, my whole career changed when I stopped trying to figure out the business and be smart and write to the market and, you know, do all these things. And when I just said like, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I wrote like a crazy big, like super big budget, nutso movie that's like sci-fi and comedy and action. I mean, it's like totally bananas. And that was the thing that like all of a sudden launched my career, you know?
I do think that's such the conversation every week. It's like, I mostly write TV. I have a few features, but it's just like, an ending is really hard for me. And everyone is like, go write the feature. And I'm like, by the hours and months and then years that I spend trying to perfect a feature, I could have written 3 pilots that maybe could move a different needle for me. So like, yeah, I guess I could chase it, but it just seems...
Well, and if it's not what you want to do, I mean...
Yeah, and by the time that I figured it out, the feature hype would be over. Everyone would be like, write me an independent show. And I'll be like, gosh, I should have focused on the TV. Like, just following that chase is always, I think, a really risky...
Yeah. Because, the market changes. I mean, there's no way to predict, you know, what people are going to want. The only thing you can do is be true to yourself and be authentic and write a story that resonates with you, I think.
Yeah, and that's how you stand out. I mean, that's the other thing I like to talk about. It's like, if you're writing to the market, so is everybody else. So there's going to be 100 scripts just like yours. And the only way you're going to stand out is if you actually just use your voice, because no one else can write like you, and like not try to conform. Don't try to like, you know, and this is where I think reps can get a little dicey too, because I hear a lot of people say like, my rep told me to do this, or I need to do that, or, you know, they told me not to write this thing because they said it's like, you know, not marketable or whatever. And it's like, I mean, I feel like there's only so much of that you can really pay attention to, because I think that in the end, it's like I said, if it shows in the writing. It just shows if it's not something you're passionate about, or your voice isn't really coming through. It's a much harder battle for something you don't even care as much about.
Right. And where you're like, oh, I'm just going to spend years of my life on something that's just like, nah. What was your guys' writers retreat like? That like sounds quite lovely. We went torturous.
No, it was
great.
It was really good. I have a house out in the Joshua Tree area in Pioneer Town. And
Love.
so it's really lovely. I like Airbnb it. So I'll send you the info if you want to. I'll give you the friends and family discount if you want to book it. But we went out there just for like a couple of days and dedicated the week, like, you know, came up with a little like schedule for ourselves, and like, well, this is what we're going to do while we're here. We were both working on personal scripts, and it was good. We could take little breaks and kind of like, you know, bounce ideas off of each other and really just talk about that. It's very helpful to do that if you have a writer friend that you can kind of like just talking through your story with like at somebody else can really help, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like it was funny. It's like, I didn't really think about a writer's retreat with another person, but you know, you picture somebody going alone in a cabin somewhere, but actually it was so helpful. It's like, because we would, you know, sit there for hours, like with, you know, some soothing music and like writing. And then I would just like go like, Tara, like, this isn't working. Like, why isn't this working? And she'd stop and we'd sit there and I'd be like, I keep doing this and it's not. And then, you know, I would get an idea, and like she would do the same. And it was just such a helpful way to like keep pushing things forward instead of spinning in one place, which is what I tend to do when I'm left totally alone.
And I think coming out of it, I feel like we both have new ideas for how we are going to complete these projects now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, so it definitely helped me get clarity. That was the thing I realized, like, you know, I write every day, and this last script is taking me so much longer than I've ever taken on a script ever in my life. And it's been making me very self-conscious. But at the same time, it's like being able to totally dedicate my brain just to that for a few days. I think I was able to finally get past this thing that I kept running up against, because every time I'd sit down, I'd kind of start the same way and then run into this thing. And then like tomorrow I start this way and run into the thing. But if I sat there for 2 days, like with uninterrupted, I hit that thing, and then I stayed there for like a long time. And then I actually started to be able to see around it. And like, I think that if I hadn't taken like an exclusive chunk of time to do that, I mean, I don't know how long it would have taken me to like see past that brick wall, you know?
I think we both, or at least I won't speak for you, I'll speak for myself. I thought like I would just finish the thing in a few days out there. And like that totally didn't happen, but it's still very, very helpful. You know, it's like, I feel like I have a clear path forward now.
I think that's the thing too, is like I feel like a lot of writing advice online too is like, just get it down, do a vomit draft, like, you know, all these things. And I think that, great, that totally works for some people. But I feel like a lot of people put it out there like as like, this is like a must do. And if you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong, or you're getting in your own way, or, you know, all these things. And it's like, well, no, everybody has a different process. And it's like, I've done it that way, and now I'm trying to do it in a different way. And like, I feel like I want to try to challenge myself. And so I feel like I'm trying to write something that's deeper. And so I'm doing it in a different way. And I don't know, I get frustrated sometimes with like a lot of the online writing advice where it's like, you have to do it like this, you know?
That Nick gets into a fight, not a fight, a heated debate once a week, a beef, an internet beef with people with like there's like a lot of gurus out there who say like, do it this way or else you're not going to be successful. Only listen to me. And Nick is like,
blacklisted.
Yeah. And Nick is like,
they scare people. They scare people. Yeah. Yeah, no, I have had a lot of those people in my class of Sundance, and they'll be like, well, I can't do that because, and I'm like, of course you can. Like, who told you can't have voiceover? I just want to like punch them in the face.
Crazy. So crazy.
Nick, someone today on a post you said was like, don't you think it's a cop-out that he did X, Y, and Z? Like, I heard you're not supposed to do that. And it's like, are you kidding? You're not.
I think it was voiceover actually. That comment said,
yeah. And I'm just like, that is nothing is a rule if you're telling a good story.
Yeah, it's like,
and like for each script it can be different because sometimes I do love a vomit draft, and other times I'm like, no, I really need to think about what I'm trying to say before I just like, because otherwise going back to fix it could be worse. Just waiting and being patient.
Totally. Yeah.
Honestly, my vomit drafts have always resulted in me like having to completely rewrite. Like, and then I'm like, well, what was the point? Like, did that save me any time? Like, you know, like I ended up like having to start from scratch anyway. Like, why? So what? You know? But it was crazy. This one woman that I had a call with, she had paid a lot of money to someone to have them give notes on her script for a short film. And I was like, oh, I think this is great. And like, you know, I love like how you have like the detail of like, you know, her foot on the pedal, like, you know, because it was like this older woman on a bicycle. And she was like, no, like, well, this other person told me not to do that, like not to include details like that it was like not good. And I was like, what? And then I was like, you know, like I can really picture it. And she was like, is it okay that I said what she's wearing? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, this other person told me that like to not that's wardrobe's job, and that you should never be putting like describing what they're wearing. And I was like, no. But yeah, I think people, I don't know what it is. I don't know why they feel like they need to like create these things and then really scare people into not feeling comfortable enough to like express themselves the way they want to express themselves. I don't know. It really pisses me off, to be honest.
Yeah. Silly.
Well, on the notion of writing screenplays, because I want to make sure we talk about this. Tepper sent me, look, as a screenwriter who has entered a lot of competitions back in the day, I'm always interested when new competitions pop up and stuff like that, but was very intrigued when Tepper sent me the information about this competition because it seemed very different than what you usually see. So I would love to hear the conception of it and just kind of all about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually, it's funny. It's like I was already working on developing a course about finding your voice as a screenwriter. And then Tara had this great idea to do a screenwriting competition, and we kind of like squished them together. And I already have a Substack called Inspired. And so we decided to like make it the Inspired screenwriting competition. And yeah, I mean, look, like I've entered competitions back in the day too, and I always saw them as a complete waste of money and kind of scams and taking advantage of like people's hopes and dreams. And I know someone who like won 2 of the big contests and had 0 happen, nothing at all. And I was like, what was even the point? You know, most people don't even get that far. And then the people who do, and like, there's still nothing happened. And I think that our hope was, I was like, you know, what I've learned in my career is the biggest thing is writing in your own voice, not trying to like please a competition or, you know, whatever. And also a community, like a network, like you need to like meet people. And so that's kind of like the guiding principle of what we're doing, is that we want to reward scripts that are doing something different, are, you know, using their voice in a way that is exciting. And we want to do it for like the quarterfinalists and above. Like, we don't want it to just be like, oh, one person will get this shiny penny, because guess what? That shiny penny isn't even going to necessarily do anything. It's like, no, we want to introduce people to each other and to directors and to producers and really try to help people get started in their network or expand the network they already have. So
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, sorry.
No, I just think like so much of it is about we really want to foster community, because that's really how, I mean, films are such a collaborative process. If you actually want to get something made, you need to have all of these people around you who understand your vision and who can support that and like really elevate it. You know what I mean? So that's our hope. Our hope is to really forge these communities with and connections between artists.
And I think that's such a writer, we were talking about that, like even your writer retreat, there's something which is why I think I gravitate to writers' rooms, having other people around to bounce the ideas off of, or just read your log line and then tell you that they liked it. Like that can be enough confidence boost or enough of just like the juice you need to keep going on whatever is next. And I feel like you guys doing this for, however many quarterfinalists is a director could reach out and be like, hey, I can't make this, but like, I just want to let you know I absolutely loved it. Like that could be enough for some young person in Kansas to keep going. And
exactly.
like,
yeah. Or like, do you have something else? Like, this isn't for me, but maybe there's something, or maybe like, let's develop something together,
Or like reach out whenever you have your next thing,
Exactly.
It's like, you're never going to meet people. It's like, as writers, it's the hardest of all the things to network because you're not on sets. You're not if your thing's getting made, but like for most people, it's like if you're just working a day job or whatever, it's like you're just not going to naturally be meeting all these people. And
especially feature writers.
Yeah. And it's like, the thing is though, that is how I ever have gotten anywhere. And I think that that's pretty much how everybody I know has gotten anywhere. And I know it was so intimidating for me because I am a very socially anxious person. And it took me a very long time to get comfortable in that. And I'm still not. Like, if you put me in a party right now with a bunch of fancy people, I'll just go stand in the corner. Like, I can't handle it. But, I want to create like a path, like something where people can get started.
Well, I think it's also nice because it's like, yeah, one person objectively won a contest sometimes and then they still get that. But it's like, there's something for everyone out there. Sometimes I go to the movies and I'm like, loved that. Not for me. Like, I could never write that. I would never make it. But someone else out there found the people that would do that with them. And I think that's so important.
That's the other thing is I feel like it is so subjective and like, yeah, we're going to choose a winner, but like, that's just who we liked, like, I think it's really reductive to be like, oh, this one script was better than all the other scripts. And it's like, yeah, we want someone to win and get a prize. But I think what we really want to do is be like, no, this group of people are strong writers and they have interesting ideas, and maybe not all of them like are for us, but we can see that they might be for somebody.
I think the communal aspect is like just so important to, like, without it, I think many writers will quit being writers because it's a mentally strenuous even hobby to have, because it's just like it takes so much work and you often see so little fruit of your labor. Like if I didn't have my like writers group every month, which is like therapy for all of us, to be like, it's so hard, this is so bad, like it's just you wouldn't survive,
Yeah, no. And that's the other thing is we want to like introduce the writers to each other too. It's like not just about meeting directors and producers, it's about meeting other writers.
Yeah.
And I like that it's not so focused on the manager agent thing, because that is, again, I feel like as people gravitate towards the indie route and independent doing things like I love agents, managers. They do have an amazing gig, but they're not always the one true path to getting your thing made.
Exactly.
Can you give the logistical information for our listeners? Like, how long is the competition going to be open?
Last date to enter.
Final deadline is July 15th.
Right. And you can submit on our website, inspiredscreenwriting.com. We are currently not on Film Freeway. We're debating whether or not to go on it because
it's really
various
expensive
reasons. It's like they take advantage of a lot of what goes on there. So
which is then even more annoying, because also to that, like, it hurts on both sides. And then it's to a competition, they'd be like, I have to raise my rate, $10 to cover or whatever cost Film Freeway is going to do, which is like not helpful to anyone involved in that.
No. And it's like, it's been a very difficult decision for us, because it's like, we're new and we want people to trust us. And I know that that's a way people, could be like, oh, it's on there, it must be like legitimate. But at the same time,
I do think there's like an ease to it. Like you're like, oh, my log line's here, my script's uploaded, whatever that is.
Like I can just hit go. But I don't know. I mean, we're on the fence about that. But anyway, in the meantime, if you do apply on our website, we're also trying to make the entry fee give you back something for that. So we're giving the first class in my course for free. And also Tara creates these like incredible guided meditations that are like creative visualizations, and we're giving one of those for free. And we're working on coming up with some other goodies as well to like at least be like, oh, like you didn't set your money on fire,
Right.
You got something.
Yeah, and
exactly.
You said they get the scorecard too, right?
Oh yes, sorry, and the scorecard. Yes.
Yeah. So a little bit of feedback, and then also if you submit, you can, and you take the first class in Jen's course, and you like it, you can you get 50% off the full course.
That's amazing.
If you're a submitter. Yeah. And then. Yeah, so I made this, we have like sort of a library of these creative visualizations that are right now geared towards writers. So it's just sort of, I started making them for me and people liked them. So we're like kind of putting them out there. There's one to, combat writer's block, one to stop procrastination, one to help you like to get inspired, to sort of like, get some ideas going, stuff like that. One to get you into a flow state. So we're giving away the one that is called Clear Your Mind, and that's just sort of like a basic one to get you into a sort of a state of relaxed focus or focus relaxation, so you can better focus on your work. But yeah,
that's amazing, because that is when I work my day job, it's a really hard. Switching my brain is not something I excel at. I am sitting here like waiting for another email to come through to be like, I will answer that email and then I'll go write. Or like, I'm like, someone needs something from me. I can't do the writing brain right now. So that's, that sounds lovely.
I think all screenwriters need to relax more.
Yeah, totally.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, before we wrap up, we have one little final segment we like to do with all of our guests. We like to ask for, you only have to choose one of the three here. So the sort of tagline of our podcast is the highs, lows, and hell no's of Hollywood. So we like to hear just one of the three, either a high, a low, or a hell no from your career, which you can interpret however you see fit.
Yes.
I have a hell no. I read your email. I already have one. I mean, I have many. I was like, which one should I use? But no, I'll use this one. So this was like my very first meeting after film school, like a general meeting with this producer who was like an old guy. And he was like, I love your short film. It looks so beautiful. How do I know that the look of it and the feel of it is actually coming from you and not your cinematographer? And I was so taken aback. Like, I didn't really know what to say. I was like, oh, well, I mean, this was my vision. And like, I kind of told him what to do and like, we collaborated on it. But looking back, like, he would never have said that to me if I were a man. If I'm a man and I bring this film and he thinks it looks beautiful and it's like striking, whatever he said, he would just be like, you're a great director. Like, what an amazing vision you have. But like, how rude is that to say, like impossibly rude. I didn't even realize how rude it was at the time because I was like really young. And I'm like, oh, did I do something wrong? Like, maybe
well, and you're probably second guessing yourself. You're like, wait, was it the cinematographer? You're like, no, but it was me. Directing this, my cinematographer.
Well, and like, that's why I hired him. I hired him because I loved his work and like, we worked really well together. And like, yeah, I'm like, that's what a director does. So That is my hell no.
That's a good hell no. That's a good hell no.
Wait, guys, my mug. We can bring it back up.
I'm gonna do a high. And that was when I've sold my first script, and it was not only was it like it was the fantasy, which I am very grateful for, but it was like the movie went out on a Monday, or the script went out on a Monday, and by Friday, like we had multiple producers at multiple studios wanting it, and like who it ended up going to was Jake Kasdan, who his first film, The Zero Effect, had a profound significance to me because I saw it when it came out in the theater and I loved it. And he was like a hero to me. And then like, it was just so bananas that like, that's who bought my script and he's attached to direct it. Like, what? You know, I don't know if I'll ever have another moment like that, but it was pretty special.
That is what we chase.
Yeah, literally. You will. You'll have another one, but it is like
I hope so.
Yes.
You will. You will.
Yes. Yeah. Positive manifestings here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much.
Of course.
Thank you.
This is so fun.
Yeah, this was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you.